What AFC North receiver got in better shape this summer with a tremendous opportunity in front of him? Is there a sleeper tight end in the NFC East that is a must target? And what AFC North quarterback is becoming the most polarizing player in the division? Plus, six-time FPC league champ Bob Levens drops in to talk about what he's seeing in Football Guys drafts this year, what AFC South running back he's scooping up in multiple leagues, and more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
With the master rhymer, that's the lead behind the video rapper. You know the top climber, tapper.
Thanks so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to tell you what receiver spent his offseason working out with Anquan Boldin to help him take a big step forward, why the number 4 pick in Football Guys drafts might not be as desirable as it was a couple of weeks ago, and Bob Levens, a 6-time league winner in the Football Guys Players Championship, hangs out to answer questions on Antonio Brown, Evan Engram, Aaron Jones, and more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak, where to reach us on Twitter. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where you can hook up with us there. 347-426-3682, 347 Game Over. If you want to give us a buzz tonight, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now's the time to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up in the bottom half of the show. Shout out to our producer and mutual friend Rob. Audio engineer and best friend Bryce is commissioning tonight, so we are on our own. If there's any audio difficulties, and Dave, we've never had to deal with any of those on this program.
Not a once.
Yeah, and you know we're coming up. You know what June 21st is? I don't know if I told you this.
The summer equinox.
Is it? I don't even know. It could be.
I don't know. First day of summer?
It also could be as well. I meant it in terms of this show.
The X100th show.
400th episode of the HSFF Hour will air on June 21st.
Sweet, I'm very excited.
We are doing nothing special for it. I'll tell you that right now.
Not yet. I'm going to make some plans. We're going to get some. Actually, I just got this. They get those catalogs, Oriental Trading catalogs.
Yeah.
I got one and I threw it out, but actually it's on the top part of the garbage, so I can pull it back out. And they had a taco party. So we get piñatas and all sorts of Mexican food and stuff like that. What do you think?
That's fine. I'm just confused what 400 has to do with that.
Nothing. It would just be kind of fun to have a bunch of,
just Mexican.
Big sombrero.
Yeah.
I'll go on too.
And margaritas. We get the margarita maker here.
Right
on. Okay, I'm in. So we are doing something special for it.
Yes, it's a Mexican theme.
All right, perfect. Well, the theme tonight is drafting, and if you want to hook up with some FPC drafts, you definitely can do that. Football Guys Players Championship Draft. There's going to be one popping off at midnight tonight. I will be commissioning that. There might be a second one. So hustle up and make that second one happen. I think there's 2 or 3 spots left in the first midnight one. We're going to open a second one up here shortly. So that is going on at myffpc.com. Dynasty Startups also going to be drafting tomorrow morning. I think there's still a few spots in that draft. We also have another startup going on Tuesday, I believe, and then more coming up on June 1st as well. Early Bird is going on for the main event right now. 7 days left in that main event. So make sure that you are registering your main event teams in the next 7 days to not only save $100 off your entry, but also get in that Pros versus Joes drawing, which will be held sometime prior to our June 8th show, but I think on June 8th we're going to reveal the Joes on these airwaves and let you know who made it into the Pros versus Joes this year. So make sure you're signing up for that at myffpc.com. As always, best ball, super flex, and double ups always available every day, all day at myffpc.com. Let's bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's been playing high-stakes fantasy football for the past decade, starting with the old WCOF and then with the FFPC for the last 7 years. He says he prefers high-stakes leagues because of the high level of competition, and he now has 6 Football Guys Players Championship titles under his belt against that said competition. He's already drafted a few early Football Guys teams this year, and he's here to talk about his thoughts on them. Please welcome into the show, Bob Levens. Welcome to the HSFF Hour. Happy early Memorial Day to you, sir, and thanks for hopping aboard.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here with you on a Friday night. Appreciate it.
The pleasure is all on this side of the microphone, Bob. No question about that. Excited to have you on. We're in the thick of draft season, and we're thrilled to not only speak to a guy who's drafted a few teams already, but who's had a lot of success in the Football Guys Players Championship over the years as well. We're going to get to fantasy football here in a second, but can you give us an idea of what you're doing for a living when you're not winning these FPC leagues?
Oh man, I don't know about that. I actually am a manager for a medical. I'm a manager for a medical device company, and the beauty of that is I've got a few friends who I let them know I'm going to be on this podcast, and they're wondering where their phone call is because they're also rabid fantasy players and PC competitors who have won a few as well. I'll share their names later, but when I'm driving to some of my accounts, I'll make phone calls, and we're already breaking down divisions and sleepers and busts. So it's pretty funny, but my work allows me some flexibility to talk shop while I'm driving from place to place.
Yeah, that's always advantageous when you can have that, Dave.
Absolutely, 100%. So let's talk a little bit about, you had the pick 309 this year. You took Aaron Jones over Balky's boy, Devonta Freeman, my guy, Derrick Henry, and Tony Michel, who doesn't catch passes. Why was Jones your pick there as he begins his first year in Matt LaFleur's new offense in Green Bay?
Yeah, there's a couple things that go into that. I think first off, when I look at Derrick Henry and Sony Michel, those guys don't catch balls, and you got to rely on those touchdowns and those big yardage games. And while they'll have some, I like a little bit more consistency. Derrick Henry clearly has the upside, and he's probably the better pick over Michel. But with Aaron Jones, it's not because of LaFleur. Trust me, I'm actually not a LaFleur fan. I think he got his job at Tennessee large in part to Sean McVay's success with the Rams. But large in part, I think what LaFleur learned was that you have to ride your horses, and he learned that last year in Tennessee. Getting Derrick Henry less touches was not the effective approach. And at the end of the year, we saw what happened. So I do think he'll ride Aaron Jones. We saw Aaron Jones can catch the rock last year. The only knock on him, I think he's getting pushed down about a half a round because of his injury at the end of last year, missing 2 games. I think if that wasn't the case, we'd be seeing him go at the end of round 2. So I like Jones a lot. Picking at that place, I like other backs better, but Jones was my pick over those guys.
Yeah, Aaron Jones going at the 310 and FFPC best ball drafts right now. You obviously got him at the 309 here. I think I know the answer to this question, but as you alluded to, Aaron Jones ended the season on IR for the Packers last year. Are you concerned at all with the injuries this year, and is he a guy worth handcuffing to either Jamal Williams or Dexter Williams late, or are you just better off avoiding those 2 players?
I think in some situations it's a smart move. I'm going to avoid it because I think if Aaron went down, I don't believe Jamal will get the full load anyway. So I'll just take the risk, go Aaron Jones, and pick better players, in my opinion, in the 11th round. That's where I stand on that. But some people love the handcuff strategy. I don't take that approach as often.
Bob, in that same draft, you ended up going with a pair of running backs right after you took Aaron Jones. You went running back in rounds 3 through 5. You get Kerryon Johnson and Chris Carson to go along with Aaron Jones. Have you found yourself loading up on running backs like this early, drafting 3 in the first 5 rounds? Is that something that either you found yourself doing this year or not at all, or maybe this is sort of how you like to build your teams?
No, not necessarily. I think in the draft you're referencing, I took Nuke, Hopkins, number 9 overall, and then followed up with Antonio Brown. So with my 2 receivers there, I felt really comfortable at the wide receiver position. And then obviously I was going to go Aaron Jones. I thought Kerryon Johnson was a steal at that point in round 4. Round 5, you think about Seattle and just where they're at. They're going to run the rock. Schottenheimer can't stop running, I think, to a fault. But when Russell Wilson now has lost his number 1 target for the year and Doug Baldwin, it's really coming down to a rookie and then Tyler Lockett. They're going to just run. Those games are going to end in 2 hours. So, I mean, I think, maybe there's a team there's a team where I probably could have handcuffed and went Penny Carson. But at the time, the news on Carson's knee hadn't come out, and I like Carson more than I do today. I think the knee's a blip on the radar. He'll be back in a few weeks. But, no, it's not a strategy that I'll take probably very often, going 3 backs in a row. But in this particular situation, I like the value.
All right, I got a question about Lamar Jackson, a player I own in a lot of leagues. I don't know if first of all, I don't know if I should say the bad news. Have you heard the bad news about Lamar Jackson lately?
We're going to get that to later in the show, but you can bring it up now.
All right, so I'm just going to bring this up real quick, and then I'll ask you, have you heard about that?
Yeah, he's missing everybody.
Yeah, he can't complete passes, and then on top of that, he found out at OTAs that they're going to have a new offense. Like, he wasn't aware that they were instituting a new offense until OTAs started. It's like, what the hell are you doing, man? Anyway, so they drafted a lot of fast players. They drafted Marquise Brown, Miles Boykin, and Justice Hill, all running in like 4.40 type. I mean, I think all these guys run 4.4s or lower, actually. Do you think Lamar Jackson, in spite of this bad news, is still going to have a breakthrough fantasy season in 2019?
Absolutely. You think about it, he doesn't need to throw more than 24 touchdowns and however many yards, call it 2,600 yards, to be up there with Drew Brees and others, because I think you guys may agree. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear your feedback. I think he's a 1,000-yard rusher in his sleep, and he could easily break the 8-touchdown mark. So you've got a guy, when you factor that into the PC scoring format, that's going to put him into a 4,000-plus yard season with 30-something touchdowns. And that's without hitting his 4.4 speedsters on a slant that hits the end zone that really doesn't require a lot of skill throwing the ball. I like Lamar Jackson because I like what they did, at least, the Ravens, and getting him some playmakers that maybe could take it to the house. He's obviously not a good passer, but that D is not going to be as good as it was last year. He may be forced to do some other things. I do like Lamar Jackson late. Keep throwing bad passes. Keep moving down in the draft. I'll keep taking him because he does his damage with his legs.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with that. And I'm hoping he does keep dropping. I think he averaged like 70-some yards per game rushing last year. If I remember correctly, both of you talked about it, was like a pace of 1,271 rushing yards. And I see the projections for Jackson, and a lot of these guys have him at 700 to 800 yards. And it's like, okay, he ran for about 700 yards last year in limited starts. How is he not going to run for 1,000? Like you said, 1,000 yards in his sleep, I think that is 100% sure. What do you think, Balky?
He started 7 games last year for the Ravens, and he rushed for a total of 695 yards. Now, that's roughly – now, he didn't get all those yards, and he got – some of that yardage came in games he did not start. But if you want to just – quick and dirty it here, it's like 100 yards rushing a game. So listen, you're preaching to the converted here. I'm a big believer in Lamar Jackson, regardless of how he performs from an NFL standpoint. I think for fantasy, he makes a lot of sense. Dave has actually introduced me to the world of Kyler Murray, which I am very thankful for, and I feel like I will be waiting on quarterbacks a lot in drafts this year. In FFPC drafts, for instance, here's the 3 guys.
Murray's not going that late.
Here's the 3 guys that I think I'm going to end up with a lot. Kyler Murray's currently going at the 906, Lamar Jackson going at the 1005, and Josh Allen going at the 1009. So I bet I end up with 2 of those 3 guys on a lot of teams this year. It seems shaky, but I think it's going to work out. I mean, isn't that accurate, Dave? Don't you think?
I think so. What do you think, Mr. Levin?
Yeah, I think it's been kind of funny. I've done 3 drafts so far. It's almost a gentleman's agreement where no one's taking quarterbacks. It's kind of funny. And then when the run hits, it hits. But, yeah, waiting on quarterbacks makes a ton of sense unless some of the big names just keep falling and then you kind of have no choice. You jump on it. Maybe that changes as the season or off season progresses. But Yes, I agree with those names as well. Josh Allen to a lesser degree, bad weather in Buffalo. Yeah, he uses his legs. They do have some more weapons. I just can't get behind Buffalo passer for whatever reason. Maybe it's just me. And I want to see Kyle Murray. I didn't follow him as much as I should have, so I'm excited to see him play. I do like Jared Goff, though, and he's, not the runner, but I think they may have to rely a little bit less on the run game and just, exploit defenses with those three big receivers. And so he's a nice one, too, in the later rounds.
Yeah, Goff going right around. He's going at the 8-11, so he's going ahead of all three of those guys, but still in that same neighborhood. And certainly if you're waiting on a quarterback until the 8th round and you take Jared Goff as your starter, you're doing just fine. We're speaking with Bob Levens, a 6-time winner of the Football Guys Players Championship Leagues, joining us here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight, talking about many of his Football Guys drafts this year. And I want to talk to you about a guy that you drafted in multiple leagues. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 of them, but D'Onta Foreman. You've selected him at least twice. Are you of the belief that this is the year that the Texans end up either making him the featured back over Lamar Miller, or he takes over that role at some point this season?
It's more of a disbelief in Lamar Miller. Ever since he got that job in Miami, I jumped on him then and got burned. He's a good straight line runner. I just think he's had so many chances to get the full complement of carries, and he just hasn't done a lot with it, even in a tremendous offense like the Texans. Foreman, in his rookie year, was starting to push Lamar, and then, of course, he tore his Achilles, missed last year. I don't know. It's an upside play with Alfred Blue gone and Lamar Miller in a walk year. You figure Texans are going to be pushing for it. They may run Lamar Miller into the ground, and maybe it's a bad pick, but in my opinion, I think Foreman, after the reports I'm reading, he's shed weight. He's reporting he's healthy. I think he'll push Miller, and I do think that he's going to get some snaps, some healthy snaps, and I think he'll be worth his ADP right now.
Yeah, I mean, he was a young guy coming into the league. Obviously, the Achilles thing is really bad, but you'd like to think that, on a younger player, it doesn't have the devastating effect as it would if he was suffering this a decade later. I think the outside signs are good for Foreman. They didn't draft a running back. They have, Lamar Miller, who is, never been a spectacular guy, more workmanlike than anything else at this point of his career. And they let Alfred Blue go, too. So I think that all the outside signs point to a good year from D'Onta Foreman. And you don't have to really pay through the nose to get him right now. In FFPC best ball drafts, he's actually going at the end of the 11th round. Behind guys like Ito Smith, Ronald Jones, and Jaylen Samuels, right ahead of guys like Naheem Hines, Peyton Barber, and Dion Lewis. So that seems about right for him there, for sure. I know you're not a D'Onta Foreman fan, Dave, but the price for me is right there at the end of the 11th.
Where's Lamar Miller going, just curiously?
I can tell you, even though curiosity did in fact kill the cat, Dave, I will tell you that Lamar Miller is going at the 702 in drafts right now.
702. I just looked up Lamar Miller last year on a points-per-game basis. He was RB24, which is funny because everyone always says he's like a low-end RB2. Well, holy shit, he is a low-end RB2.
Let me ask you this. Is he the young man's Frank Gore? Where he's more of like an accumulator now at this point? I guess he doesn't really get he gets hurt more than Gore does. But maybe this is what we're looking at with Lamar Miller, the unsexy guy that you can just plug in there and he'll get you maybe 10 points a week.
Well, exactly. He averaged 0.3 points more than he's kind of known and respected, Nick Chubb.
Oh yeah.
He outscored Chubb. Granted, Chubb had some really weak whatever, but first of all, I don't like Lamar Miller that much, but the whole Achilles thing, it's just so tough for me to get behind it because no one ever comes back from it. So if Foreman is the first to do it at running back, I guess I'll catch the next one. So you're fine. There's no FOMO with Dave here. The fear of missing out does not exist for D'Onta Foreman. That's fine, but the logic makes sense.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I respect that. It's not like I think the key is he's going where he's going, but your points are very valid, and he's not going to be the guy I go crazy with. But I think right now, I think he can steal 1B carries, which obviously is worth it at that point.
If he's healthy, I feel like he's a more talented back. Like as we were all saying, Lamar Miller is just a guy, even though he does have he's not terrible. Otherwise, he wouldn't hold a job for this long. So anyway, moving on from the boring Lamar Miller discussion, we'll talk about a very interesting Chris Godwin. He took him at the 504. Bruce Arians says he's a 100-catch player. Do you think he gets all the way up there with Mike Evans playing the other side? You know, O.J. Howard's hyped up all the time, but apparently Arians, we don't know if he's going to throw to Howard. And who else we got faulty there? Who's playing the slot? Do we know yet? Justin Watson? Is he going to be on the outside?
Let me take a look at the depth chart here.
Adam Humphries is in Tennessee.
So that's what's interesting. They're saying Godwin may play some slot as well.
No, Godwin, yeah, should play the slot. Go ahead. I'll let you actually talk, Bob.
Well, I mean, look, Godwin, he's like, we have a friend that we grew up in high school. His name's, last name is Weinstein. So, like, picks like this, we call a Weinstein pick. It's like, and he's just, your friend. He's like your friend's fantasy football league, like, where, like, everyone kind of knows a little bit, but not a lot. And Chris Godwin's a Weinstein pick. He's the obvious pick. He's the one that everybody thinks should blow up. I mean, I'm not any savant for picking Chris Godwin. It's one of those picks that might just make too much sense with Bruce Arians there and Winston throwing it up. He's big. I don't know about 100 catches. I really don't. But I do think 10-plus touchdowns is really, like, I think it's pretty much going to happen in that offense. So he's a big body. I think he scored 7 or 8 last year, not getting a full role. His upside is just tremendous, and his downside is limited because he could score, every other week or more.
Dave, you were right with Justin Watson probably going to be playing the slot. We really buried the lead on the big free agent acquisition the Buccaneers had this offseason at wide receiver. Former first-round pick Brashad Perriman is now a Buccaneer. So he's running routes down there.
He was balling when he came into the league. I think he was 30 when he entered the league.
That's entirely possible. Yeah, maybe that's the reason why he sucked, is he's actually 50 years old.
Yeah, exactly. His phenom scores a -8.
Yeah, well, this father time's undefeated, my friend. And when you are as old as Brashad Perriman looks, certainly that is bad news. It's been good news tonight because we have Bob Levens on the show on the HSFF Hour with Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. Bob's a 6-time winner of the Football Guys Players Championship League, joined 3 of them so far this year. And I think at 2 of them, I don't think I'm misspeaking here, I think at 2 of them you drafted Antonio Brown.
You drafted 3 leagues already? That's awesome.
I drafted 3 leagues already. I have AB in all 3 leagues.
Yeah, this is great. So go ahead, Balky, start interrupting.
Yeah, Antonio Brown is now in Oakland. He hasn't been drafted this low in quite a while. In fact, his ADP I wouldn't say it's plummeted because he's still a high pick. But in best balls right now, he's going at the 210. We haven't seen him go that late before. So can you talk a little bit about whether he's a good investment at the end of the second round for fantasy owners? I think I know how you're going to answer this, given that you've taken him in all 3 leagues. But tell us why you are on board with Antonio Brown, the Raider.
Look, football isn't always about skill. It's about opportunity. And obviously AB has the skill. And who doesn't? Maybe Carr, right? But AB is going to get 150 targets in his sleep. Which is what the tier 1 receivers get. It's the guys that are going first round. That's what they get. The guys that are going behind him, I don't believe will get that. So I think he's the last wide receiver 1. And to get a wide receiver 1 in quotes that late in the second round for me, based on targets, is intriguing. The question is, can Carr produce? And I don't know. I think AB, some short routes, if the line holds up like it did a few years ago, I mean, he could absolutely destroy his ADP. And when you're pairing him with another receiver or with a top tier back, you feel good about it. So for the time being, the issue with him that I have is his personality. If things go bad, he's going to quit, and you got yourself a big issue. So I think that's my concern in Oakland is Gruden might blow that whole thing up. But if things start off pretty good and he's reporting to camp, I think sky's the limit.
Look, if there's anything you can count on, it's Gruden to be a great coach and the Raiders to be a quality organization, right?
Yeah, those are the constants in life. Have they announced the Hard Knocks team yet?
No, but I think the Raiders are one of like 5 or 6 that are eligible.
It's down. I know that San Francisco was one of them, and they did not want to do it. And I know the NFL said that they would not choose the Niners, but man, it would be so great if it was the Raiders this year with Gruden.
I would agree, awesome, yeah. It would be so much more fun with the Raiders. The year they were going to Vegas would be more fun, but nevertheless.
Well, I mean, you get Mayock would probably be on a few episodes.
Yeah, Mayock would be good.
Antonio Brown.
Right.
I mean, oh man.
The more tools, the better, right? There's a lot of tools on this team.
The only thing better would be if Marshawn Lynch were to come back again. Oh, can you imagine Marshawn Lynch and Antonio Brown on the same field, Dave?
I know, yeah.
It'd be fantastic.
So Bob, let me ask you a question. I mean, and actually, I'm trying to really pick your brain here. I'm not trying to nitpick Antonio Brown. So Derek Carr, Amari Cooper just was not productive with Derek Carr. He left and then he went to Dallas and he had some he had some really good games. Granted, some of them were fluky games where he catches an 80-yard touchdown off of, whatever weird throw. But nevertheless, he was productive there. So then, now Antonio Brown comes to town. I mean, do you have any idea, and I don't really know the answer to this, as to why Cooper just wasn't effective and then subsequently became effective again?
That's a great question. I was talking about that with my buddy. I think it's about fit, right? I think Cooper probably fit that regime a little bit better off the play action with the run. He's a great route runner. I don't look at Cooper as being tremendously athletic, which is funny for me to say as a manager for medical devices. So clearly these guys are all freak. These guys are all freak athletes, but in the realm of superior athleticism, I don't think Cooper is really at the top of it. He's a great route runner. I think it works when you go and play action and you're just hitting people on a strike. And some of those work, Lukey. Look, Cooper's fine. I don't have a problem with Cooper. And if it was anybody else, Antonio Brown's just such a freak with route running, speed. I mean, the dude just did things that were ridiculous. And I'm not a huge Carr fan, but we saw Carr at an MVP level before he fractured his back. Was it 2 years ago now? Hitting, I guess it was Crabtree and I forget who else. But, he's had effectiveness. It's not like we have Matt Schaub throwing to, Andre Johnson, which is actually what this reminds me of, to be honest. It's targets. It's a freak receiver with crazy targets, and that's what I'm banking on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and Crabtree was able to be productive, at least from a touchdown perspective, with Derek Carr throwing to him. Cooper, for whatever reason, like you said, didn't fit. And Antonio Brown, you're right. I mean, he just gets open all the time. I mean, he just is almost uncoverable, even when he was double covered. And as long as his Carr can throw be 85% of what Roethlisberger is, I think he'll be excellent.
Yeah, and the fact that this is a guy that was going in like the top half of FFPC drafts last year, for him to plummet as far as he did, I think, as the kids say, the hate has gone too far, Dave. One of the things that I think we should talk about a little bit is everybody's NFL darling, the Cleveland Browns. They have made some great additions on both defense and offense, probably none bigger than Odell Beckham coming over to Cleveland from the Giants in that trade. I'm curious, Bob, your thoughts on Beckham's impact on this offense as it relates to David Njoku, because a lot of people, especially in the tight end premium league, in some of the FFPC dynasty leagues, certainly are expecting big things from David Njoku. Is it good that Beckham's there, that he's going to take pressure off Njoku and free him up down the seam with all the attention that Beckham commands? Or is it bad, given that Beckham is going to get a ton of targets from Baker Mayfield? How do you read this situation for the Browns?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is a really tough one. I've taken Njoku once, and I took him because I thought it was value where I got him. In full transparency, I'm not huge on Njoku based on exactly what you just said. We can't forget that a guy by the name of Jarvis Landry, who was largely one of the most ineffective receivers maybe that I've ever seen last year. I think he caught like 60% or less of the passes thrown his way from a supposed accurate Baker Mayfield. Should raise some monster red flags. I think what it tells you is maybe either Landry's not a number one, or in my opinion, I like Landry when we talk about the Browns because, Odell's Odell, and he's probably worth where he's going at the end of the first because just, again, his ability, he's essentially a younger version of Antonio Brown. But I think Jarvis Landry in the middle is going to be really nice. I think Njoku will have some spotty big games because they can't cover everybody. I don't think consistency is going to be a word that goes along with Njoku.
Dave, take a guess at what number tight end David Njoku is being drafted as. In other words, how many tight ends are FFPC players drafting in front of him right now?
You didn't have to explain it to me.
Well, I wanted to make sure. Dave, I wasn't saying it for you. I was saying it for the listeners. Clearly, they're not on the same intellect level as you.
Right, yeah, I totally got it right away. 10.
9, which seems a little low right now. He is going at the 601 of best ball drafts right now, behind guys like Jared Cook, Eric Ebron, Hunter Henry, Evan Engram, and O.J. Howard. Man, O.J. Howard's going high. So that's interesting. And I think that's the reaction from FFPC players has been like, look, there's Landry, there's Beckham, there's Callaway got a lot of love in the offseason. He got talked up. So there's a lot of different targets, a lot of different options for Baker Mayfield. And that's without talking about Duke Johnson and then Kareem Hunt when he comes back for the second half of the season as well. Nick Chubb doesn't really catch passes for whatever reason, but there's plenty of other guys in that offense that can. Hopefully Baker Mayfield is just simply hitting the open guy. Bob Levens is our guest tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. He, a winner of 6 Football Guys Players Championship League titles. Let's get to a couple of emails that came in for you, Bob. First one is from Craig in Boston. How likely is it that Evan Engram takes a big step forward this year now that Odell Beckham and all his targets are in Cleveland? Thanks, Bob. That's Craig in Boston. Thanks for the email, Craig. So good segue there, shifting from Beckham to Beckham. And let me tell you what, if that was ever a TV show, I'd be DVRing it every week. So let's talk about Evan Engram. Does he make a big step forward this year?
I don't know about that. I like his athleticism a lot. I like his upside. He's got hands like feet. He drops the ball with his athleticism. He's maybe a younger version of Jared Cook. I don't think he's ever going to really meet his expectation until kind of the right situation. And maybe some could say this is the right situation. It's just I don't know if I trust Eli. I could see, if they didn't bring in a nice slot receiver like Tate, I would say yes. But Tate's going to steal those underneath. Engram, I think I put Engram up there with Njoku. I honestly think Ingram's going too early, in my opinion. So I think his athleticism is through the roof, but he's not really someone I'm targeting.
One of my fantasy teams this year will be named "He's Got Hands Like Feet" for sure. That is a great one-liner. Evan Engram.
I don't like the word "feet" in a team name.
You don't like that?
No, it's uncomfortable to me.
Okay, well, whatever.
I don't like the word "feet."
It can be one of my teams then. Evan Engram going at the 406 in best balls, sandwiched right between O.J. Howard and Hunter Henry. Let's get to one more email here for you tonight. Bob, it's Kevin in Philadelphia. I've been consistently getting Robbie Anderson in the 7th round of my FFPC best ball draft. Am I reaching on him with a young, talented quarterback throwing to him and Anderson being the #1 target on his team? He screams as a value to me. What am I missing? That's Kevin in Philadelphia. Bob, is he missing anything with Robbie Anderson? I can say that, again, in best balls, his ADP is 710. Right now. So, I mean, if you're taking him consistently in the 7th round, that makes sense. But do you think Anderson should actually be going a little bit higher than that?
I mean, you're talking to a Jersey boy here, so a Jets fan. Here's what I would say. How would you feel about T.Y. Hilton being on the Jets and Sam Darnold throwing to him? I actually look at the two as being somewhat similar. Forgive me for those who get sick at that comment, but I think Robbie Anderson statistically will show up like T.Y. A little less catches, a lot of deep plays, chunk plays, targets. I mean, Darnold stared him down probably to a fault last year. It's interesting because he's on my sleeper list. And thank you, Kevin from Philadelphia, for blowing me up. No, I'm just kidding. Robbie Anderson's a nice pick. I think 7th round's a good place for him right now. I think he'll move up a little bit, to be truthful, as the summer moves on.
I love that. The reason here's why I'm totally going to talk about my own stupid dynasty league.
Sure, we love to hear it.
Because I'm sure no one likes to hear about it.
I do.
But Robbie Anderson was a free agent in the big FN dynasty league with a bunch of high stakes players. And his ADP, he was drafted 3 times in FFPC drafts.
Sure.
That he was been drafted.
Rookie drafts, you're talking.
Rookie drafts for dynasty, and his ADP was a 203, and I got him at the 310.
Wow, nice work.
So I'm bragging. There's no question or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just really happy that you like Robbie Anderson because now I want him on this one team.
Yeah, no, I get it, and congratulations to you. That's fantastic. I'm with you.
It's great radio, right? Just me talking about my teams and everything. Hey, what do you think about that? Was that a great pick there, Bob, or what?
Let's do the Dave Gerzak Fantasy Football Hour one of these times and just have you talk about your teams.
I'm very sorry.
Robbie Anderson going behind Tyler Boyd, Alshon Jeffrey, and Corey Davis. He's going in front of Dante Pettis, Will Fuller, and Tyreek Hill still. So interesting stuff there. Tyreek Hill averaged ADP in May for FFPC best balls, going at the 901. Okay.
Basketball, that's pretty cheap.
For 901 for Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, because it's an 8-game suspension. Who cares? It's basketball.
Well, and this is why I encourage people to draft early, because of situations like this. And, we haven't really – there's got to be a record for 2019, the deepest we've gone into the show without mentioning Todd Gurley's name. But what happens if he comes out and they're still giving him 20 touches a game and he's still crushing it at 85% of his 2018 level? Getting him at the end of the 2nd round looks like a steal, and all of a sudden you're loaded for bear with that. So I think that's the importance of drafting early is to take advantage of situations like this. Dave, go ahead with our final question for Bob.
All right. This is very important because we take this information all to ourselves.
Well, we use it.
And we use it.
Yeah.
So we need a player that you'll be staying away from. This is redraft, early in drafts this season, as well as a sleeper that you're looking to acquire in the middle to latter part of draft.
Yeah, always. That's why we do this. I think I would say, my shy away, my busts, if you will. Look, I always have a bunch, and some of them come back to bite me, but I'd like to believe some of these end up contributing to the success, right? You got to stay away from some guys. I'm not a big James Conner fan, and I know what he's done, and I'm going to go right after the first round there and just blow a guy up and say, and then actually an article came out today that just what I was trying to envision, that I think they're going to split backs. I think they're going to go two backs. I think what you saw out of Jaylen Samuels was impressive as a receiver, and Conner seems to be a little bit injury prone with some concussions and high ankle sprain. I'm going to stay away from – I don't like Conner's ADP. I think he's starting to slip a little bit, which makes more sense to me into the second round. That's someone that I understand what happens in Pittsburgh. Whatever back is there is going to – typically blows up. I'm just kind of in a wait-and-see approach with Conner. So that's someone right now that I'm shying away from. Also, Eric Ebron. I just don't get excited about him. And I think I'm starting to see him slip as well, which is making sense. He obviously caught a truckload of touchdowns. I think it was 14 last year. And he wants to catch more. I mean, that's great if you want to catch more. I just don't think the opportunity is going to be there. Luck loves tight ends, but assuming what's his name? Whoever.
Jack Doyle.
Thank you. Assuming Doyle's healthy, bringing in a big guy like Funchess. They drafted this kid, Paris Campbell. Obviously, there's T.Y. there, and you got two good backs. I just don't see Ebron. His value is on touchdowns. I don't see him surpassing that. So I think Ebron's getting overdrafted as well.
Eric Ebron going as the tight. Real quick, Eric Ebron going at the tight end 7 at 501 right now, and you also mentioned James Conner, who has slipped a little bit in FFPC best balls. He is going at the 201 on average right now. But as far as sleepers go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about Lamar Jackson. I think there's a lot to like there. I think there's a safe floor. I think, we talked about that, so there's no need to beat that drum anymore. But, as you look around, you start to think about usually it's late receivers, right, that'll strike gold for you. And I for the life of me, just can't understand why a guy like Marquise Lee on Jacksonville is almost going undrafted. He's essentially going to, in my opinion, going to be the number one receiver with an upgrade at quarterback. And assuming, he got injured last August before the season even started. It might have been a worse injury than people realize. But, I mean, you have people drafting Emmanuel Sanders, for goodness sakes, and Will Fuller, who both had devastating injuries in the middle of the season, late season for Sanders. And they're getting drafted rounds, I think, between 8 and 11. Granted, a little bit different of a caliber player, but Marquise Lee is a top talent. I think he was a first-round pick. Really flashed 2 years ago. I liked him last year, got burned by his injury, and I have no reason to believe that he's not going to be the number one on Jacksonville. I mean, he's getting drafted around 18, maybe in some leagues undrafted. So that's a guy that I'm happy to bring up. I just think he deserves some draft status here where that he's not getting, and that's a sleeper that I look at a little bit at wide receiver.
The 2106 in FFPC best balls for Marquise Lee right now. And remember, it's not Blake Bortles throwing to him. It's Nick Foles, magical Nick Foles. They built a statue of him in Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen. He's throwing balls to Marquise Lee now. So certainly.
They replaced the Rocky one?
No, I don't think they replaced it. I think they just added another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same building.
I don't know where it is. I think it's right outside the vet or whatever the Eagle. What's the Eagle Stadium, Bob? Do you know?
New Jersey. Where the hell is he?
Well, he might know. He's closer to it.
You're in the East Coast.
Isn't it the Link?
Yeah.
Isn't it the Link?
Oh, the Link. Yes, the Link. That's what it is. CenturyLink Stadium.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you so much.
I guess he did know.
Yes, no, people on the East Coast know everything about the East Coast. Bob, I know I said that was the last question. I lied.
Ask me a geography question about the Midwest. He probably won't even know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hey, what state is south of Minnesota?
I won't know. Trust me.
Yeah.
What, that state? Oh, that's Arkansas.
Dave,
no, that's Iowa, Bob. It's not Arkansas.
That is news to me. I didn't have no idea Iowa was south of Minnesota. I know I said that was the last question. I do want to ask one more. It actually is coming from the chat room right now. Wasp Guy wants to know Sterling Shepard or Golden Tate for the Giants this year. And I looked up their ADPs. They are shockingly close together. I did not realize this. Sterling Shepard is actually being drafted first in best ball drafts right now. He with an ADP of 10.03, Golden Tate right behind him at 10.05. So if you're drafting one of those guys, I mean, maybe the correct answer is stay away. But what are your feelings there in the 10th round? Are you taking Tate or are you taking Shepard, Bob?
I would go Tate over Shepard. I think Shepard's the better receiver at this stage in his career, but I think Tate better fits what Eli needs, which is a short route guy who can break some tackles and stuff like that. So I don't really love either, but I think on different teams with a better quarterback, Shepard's the better play. But for this team and roster, I think Tate's going to be the better option.
For best ball, I know Eli. Everyone hates on Eli, and he's still throwing for almost 4,000. He's still throwing for 30-some hundred yards a year.
As long as he keeps the starting job all year.
Yeah, why not take Shepard and Tate at the 9, 12, 10, 01? I mean, that's the top 2 receivers on that team.
That's fine.
Corey Coleman,
not a bad call.
Is a third receiver.
Corey
Coleman.
Yes, I know. That's fine, but understand that there is a non-zero chance that Daniel Jones starts more than half the games this season for the Giants.
Oh, really? I would bet you $5 that he starts less than half.
I said non-zero, so it could be 1.
Right. I say he starts. We like to make these bets. So 6 games. What do you want? You want to bet on it or not?
Yeah, what the hell?
5, 6.
I will do 6.
All right. I'll say Eli starts 10 or more games.
And I say Eli starts 9 or fewer games. I got 5 on it.
I got 5 on it too.
Right.
I got 5 on it.
See, we have radio drops.
Yeah, I probably just blew you out. Okay, Bob, listen, that was awesome stuff from you tonight. I certainly appreciate your time and coming on the show and sharing your expertise and talking a little bit about what you've been seeing in these football guys drafts so far this year. Congratulations on the success you've already had in the contest. Good luck as you chase that $250,000 grand prize this year. And best of luck to you in all your drafts, man. Enjoy the summer. It's going to be a great drafting summer, and I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend as well, man.
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Eric. You guys have me back on anytime. Call one of my buddies. I'm going to text you his name. I'm telling you, these guys are upset. They want on. So,
well, we'd love to have him on. We'd love to have him on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So now you said it. I'm going to let him know. I do appreciate the time. Thank you.
Bob Levens, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much, Bob, and good stuff from him. Football Guys Players Championship, 6-time league winner. He's got 6 of those medals at home, Dave. And I don't know how many his buddies have, but maybe we'll have his buddies on the show. We'll see what happens. Coming up over the summer. The summer for booking guests is always, I don't want to say it's a challenge, but it's the toughest time of the year, I think, because like the first part of the year, I love having the Dynasty champs come on and talk about how they did it,
sure,
what the deals they made. That's fine.
And of course, they love to talk about themselves. So
yeah, and I love hearing from themselves. During the NFL season, it's pretty easy. You get players that are in contention for a 6-figure grand prize. They're usually happy to hop on, and they're excited about it. And we want to know how they built their teams, you know.
Plus, you can threaten to not pay them if they don't come on.
Well, I've never done that. But,
hey, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do that.
Hey, you're the first. If you don't come on, you're not getting any money.
I would never, ladies and gentlemen, the views and opinions expressed by Dave Gerzak do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour and its producer and host. But this time of year is tough because, like, everybody wants to draft. So it's like, you know, we're taking away drafting time for these guys to hop on.
Or they're actually, like, living their lives and going on vacation with family. And you
can go on vacation, live your life, and draft. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Maybe it's sunny until 9 and they don't want to, you know, hang out with us. So on. Yeah,
maybe. Two-Packer actually chiming in the chat, bragging up his non-sheeple rankings, which were just posted. And Meyer, if Two-Packer, you can get that link in the chat. Actually, I don't think it allows you to post the link in the chat, which is really frustrating. But if you can let us know where we can find those rankings, I will gladly.
They're on Twitter.
Oh, they're on Twitter? You just posted them on Twitter?
Yeah,
okay.
So check the top 20.
So check out @Two-Packer on Twitter. Okay, if he's only got the top 20 on there, we're revealing news. As he posted in the chat tonight, Odell Beckham is his 22nd ranked player on the non-sheeple rankings. And I believe number 23 is James Conner. Two players we've already talked about ad nauseum tonight.
By the way, he has Christian McCaffrey number 1. And I think it was Jake Rickroad. He was talking about ADPs across
Clutch Fantasy.
Yes, ADPs across multiple different platforms, and he said that FFPC players have McCaffrey ranked higher. He just drafted number 1 more often than anywhere else by a lot.
Really?
He's actually like McCaffrey goes in the top. It goes number 1 like in the 30-something% times. Barkley goes 50-ish. But otherwise, McCaffrey is after Elliott for most other platforms, but he is definitely way up there, way higher than anyone else on FFPC. Loves McCaffrey.
No, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
They must be listening to our show.
The Fantasy Football Players Championship, your home for Christian McCaffrey. All right, so that is going to be our sponsored segment tonight. This segment brought to you by Run__CMC. You want the latest in what's the best in running backs in fantasy football? Check out at Run__CMC on Twitter. Good stuff from him, as always.
Buy his gear.
Yes. So let's thank Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Courtland Sutton is going to lead things off for us tonight. He's actually been working on his route running this offseason with former Florida State star Anquan Boldin, according to a report in The Athletic. Sutton actually returned to Florida to train with Tony Viani, who actually worked with Courtland Sutton before the draft last year. Sutton's trying to improve his speed and his technique using both Viani and Bolden as sounding boards in their coaching. He says he wants to be a bigger factor in the red zone. And Anquan Boldin, if you remember, is actually quite familiar with Courtland Sutton's new quarterback in Denver, as Bolden was catching passes from Joe Flacco in Baltimore. We've talked about Noah Fant quite a bit on this show. I mean, given the dynasty talk we've had over the last couple of months. But as far as the pass catchers go in Denver, Dave, and I know they want to run, obviously with Vic Fangio, their old school guy, wants to run. Courtland Sutton, his ADP right now is the 904 in best ball drafts. Is that something you want to get on board with there?
I'm just looking up a few things.
Okay, you can look up a few things. Courtland Sutton, the second-year wide receiver coming out of SMU, which actually, now that I think about it, where did Emmanuel Sanders go to school? Didn't he go to SMU too?
Offhand, I don't.
I could be wrong on that. Maybe he didn't. I'm going to look that up. They obviously were not college teammates there. But Emmanuel Sanders, actually, yeah, he went to SMU as well. So the starting receivers for Denver this year, both Southern Methodist guys. Interesting stuff.
So, so last year he had 84 targets, started 9 games, 42 catches for 704 yards. Good yards for, 16.8 yards per reception, 4 touchdowns. Those aren't bad numbers, actually. I'm actually pretty impressed with these. You hear these news stories, and granted, they're a little bit of a fluff piece, but
they all are this time of year.
It's better than Josh Doxson, who's just kind of hanging out and chilling or doing whatever he does.
Mm-hmm.
So and there's who else is there? Sanders, is he even going to be back? I don't even know if he is. And then Deshaun Hamilton, and then Noah Fant, Jeff Huberman. I mean, they have to throw to somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, you really. Almost by default, Sutton almost has to get 1,000 yards, right? I mean, Flacco's going to throw for 3,500 yards at minimum. He's not that bad of a quarterback.
You can run all you want. You can be the run-heaviest team in the NFL. You still got to throw the ball probably more than half the time, and those passes are going to go to somebody. And I'm with you on Sanders. I just dumped him in a dynasty league. I don't have good faith that he is going to come back and. I mean, he's probably going to be a shell of the former player, a shell of his former self, I think is what the phrase is. 30 years old, 31 years old, whatever it is, I have no faith in him. I won't be drafting him in any leagues this year. Courtland Sutton's an interesting guy to pay attention to in Denver for sure, especially at that price tag right now.
Yeah, they have 12 wide receivers on that team right now.
My goodness. Speaking of wide receivers, second...
I like Fred Brown or maybe Shea Fields.
Shea Fields, that's a real person?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's the 10th and 11th wide receiver. Jimmy Williams is the 9th.
I thought that was the name of the character Jussie Smollett played on Empire. Shea Fields.
Yeah.
Seems like a hip-hop name, doesn't it?
Anyway.
He's opening up for Jay-Z. Shea Fields. Check him out.
Hey, I'm just looking at the depth chart. You don't hear much about Jake Butt anymore, do you?
No, you don't.
All those Jake Butt heads, those people are all like, I love Jake Butt,
Yeah.
He sucked. He always sucked. He was always going to suck. You never should have taken him if he was suck.
Right.
Anyway.
Moving on, yeah.
Jake Butt, no good.
James Washington, a second-year receiver for Pittsburgh, says he's dropped 15 pounds and he's down to 210 pounds this year, Dave, according to, again, a report from The Athletic. At the Combine last year, James Washington was 5'11", 213. He said he got all the way up to 225 as a rookie and said he burned out quickly once the season came along. Interesting. I don't know. He crushed the preseason last year, 7 catches, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Caught just over 41% of his targets in the regular season. Dante Moncrief was added by the Steelers this year. Of course, Deontay Johnson was their third-round pick out of Toledo, I want to say. So, he's going to be competing for snaps and targets. No Antonio Brown, so this is good news, big opportunity for all these guys, and James Washington should have a better 2019 than 2018. Apparently he worked on the family farm and ran sprints in order to lose weight and get faster. That's always interesting. But James Washington, Dave, I'll tell you right now in best balls, he is going at the 11-10 behind Larry Fitzgerald and D.D. Westbrook, right ahead of Mecole Hardman and Curtis Samuel. Would you want to be in business with James Washington in the late 11th?
Well, the players you mentioned, I would absolutely love to have Fitz ahead of him, and I prefer Curtis Samuel as well myself, but the other two players I would rather have Washington.
Who do you think wins that job? Is it Washington over Johnson and Moncrief?
Yeah, Moncrief sucks, as we know. And Deontay Johnson, he's still a rookie. I know they like him a lot. They drafted him in the 3rd round, but I think Washington does win that job, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So in the 11th round, you're on board.
I am, actually. I am on board with him.
Got it.
I like this news. It's good. It's good news. He's getting in better shape. That's great.
All right, so let's talk about something that neither one of us really wanted to talk about, and that's Lamar Jackson saying he's still having issues with throwing the football consistently. Jamison Hensley, who is the ESPN Ravens reporter, said that several of Jackson's passes wobbled through the air at the first week of OTAs, and Jackson agreed that it's not right from an accuracy standpoint. Quote, "It's been crazy. It's been everywhere. I feel like my hand is a little too high on the football, and that makes the ball go out of whack a lot." Well, that seems like an easy fix. Just lower your hand on the football. The Ravens have changed up their offense, which you said earlier in the show, under their new offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, and Jackson trying to fix his mechanics. That's probably not the time to be doing it right now. He should have been doing that earlier in the offseason. I guess it's frustrating because we want him to be a better passer, especially with the new weapons that he has there in Boykin and Brown and Hill. But at the same time, Dave, I think the reason that you and I are excited about Lamar Jackson is what he does when he's running the football. So this is not what you want to hear, but ultimately it doesn't affect me wanting to draft him in the 9th round in a lot of spots this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we've hyped on him a lot. Look at the good news. They're tailoring the offense around his skill set. That's great. They have all these speedy guys. They have Mark Engram, which is a really nice add. Justice Hill's a good pass-catching back. I think there's a lot of things going right for him. I think the bad news that we're hearing now, it's a slow news cycle, and I think that's actually not bad in general because it would probably drop him down a little bit.
Speaking of,
there's plenty of time to fix, mechanics issues. I don't think he's ever going to be a 70% passer, of course.
Right. Well, if he's bombing it all the time, absolutely not. We should mention this. Did you hear about this 40 yards of gold thing that's going to be going on at the end of June?
Yeah, I don't understand. I tweeted about it. Why didn't they invite Isabella, by the way? But why would these players risk? I mean, after that Edwards guy got hurt in the play.
Robert Edwards, yeah, Patriots running back.
Ruined his career. Ended his career. Why are you going to run a 40-yard sprint for any reason whatsoever that you don't have to do? I mean, I know the odds of getting hurt are minuscule. You tear a hamstring, boom, there you go.
And I know they're not running in sand, as Robert Edwards is playing volleyball in.
Yeah.
Did you see some of the players that are involved in that?
Yeah, Engram. I mean,
that was the one I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
We were talking about it actually on the show today with Leo and Balky, which you can hear at 2 to 3 in the afternoons, Monday through Friday on the Score. Download the Score app on your iPhone or Android device, or listen to it 95.3 FM AM 1570 when you're northeast Wisconsin. Mark Engram was the one that stuck out to me. He's clearly not going to beat anybody, right? It's not even like he was fast when he was young, and now he's approaching 30. I don't understand how this happens. But yeah, some of the other players participating: Alvin Kamara, Ted Ginn, Tariq Cohen.
Ted Ginn's getting up there too.
Robbie Anderson. Ted Ginn said he'd race anybody anytime. He's been saying that for years. Jacoby Ford, Corey Coleman, Trey Waynes, Dominique Rogers, Cromartie, Buda Baker, Kevin Byard, who is safety for the Titans, I guess.
It kind of sucks that they're running.
2 mystery players, by the way, too, that they haven't announced yet. Yeah.
I wish they would run a 60 or a 100. I mean, a 40 is a little bit not that far,
Yeah.
For like a race.
But I think 40 is sort of like that. That's in the same way we say the world's fastest man is whoever can run 100 meters the fastest. I think that's just the standard.
Right. You're making my point. I agree.
What was your point then?
That if you want to see who's fastest, you can run 100.
No. I'm saying for Olympic, that's like the bar.
Right.
But not for NFL. Like they measure everything by 40 yards there.
Yeah, for playing in the NFL. Yeah.
People in Kenya. You know what they use there? 26.2 miles to determine who's the fastest.
Yeah, they're running a marathon.
Right.
But this is a race isn't this a race to see who's the fastest 40-yard player? I guess it is.
Yes, it is. It's exactly what it is.
But it's not really. But so then we can argue that we can at least admit that it's not a race that determines who actually is the fastest guy.
I think these guys would say that they have all been running 40s since they've been in high school, and they would say that this is the true measure because everybody's used to running it. They've been doing it for years.
If it was the true measure of the fastest guy, they would do it in the Olympics.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't think that they're putting on themselves on the same level as Olympians, but they are putting themselves on the level of who's the fastest guy in the NFL.
We're the fastest NFL guy over a shortened distance. That's not as important as because we don't want to go as far.
I don't understand how it would I don't think it would play well for people watching this. Okay, all of a sudden everybody's like, why are they running 100 meters instead of 40 yards? I'm used to watching these guys run 40 yards all the time.
Exactly because of what I just said. Because the arbitrary measurement for the fastest person on the planet is a 100-meter dash. For
some sex, and then there's other.
For the world.
No, but not these guys. These guys are part of the world, and they would not say that. It is arbitrary. I'm totally agreeing with you on that. I'm just saying for viewership and for people who don't pay attention to the Olympics, which quite frankly is a lot, and it would just make more sense to have this as a 40-yard dash measurement rather than 100 meters. Speaking of which, did you also see the announcement that the Combine is going to be in prime time next year?
Wow. Are they ever going to show, here's a question for the people who watch the Combine will agree with me, other people will be like, whatever. Will they ever show the 3-cone drill? Will they ever show the
That is frustrating.
Will they ever show the 20-yard shuttle? Or do you just get to sit there for 6 hours until some dick releases it on Twitter?
Right.
Like, here's all the stuff I got, man.
Yeah.
By the way, 80% of the running backs didn't even do it.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's really frustrating, too. I mean, we live in – it's the information superhighway, and it slows down to, some sort of, what's the crooked street in San Francisco that's always – you can't go fast on it.
Mulholland Drive?
Whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
I'm not sure. But, yeah, it's how are we to show the 20-yard shuttle or the 3-cone? People want to know the 3-cone. It is – for running back and receivers, it's effectively just as important as the 40.
Wasp guy says they're replacing the cones with landmines. That would be look, we're moving to prime time. We need to spice things up a little bit. Let's put some landmines out there instead of the cones.
At least it could be like the things that Spencer gets where it shoots out the snakes or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool
kind
too.
Of funny,
Yeah,
and no one would die.
That's what they should put in the pylons to find out if the ball crosses the plane. They have those snakes shoot out of the pylons.
Or the running backs do things.
Yeah, I
turn it into a combination of what's that the game show, the ultimate whatever, where you
most extreme elimination challenge or what is it? Oh, American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah. Make it a combination of American Ninja Warrior and a Combine. That'd be so much more fun.
Probably true. Wasp guy also wants to know in the chat top 3 rookies in FFPC redraft in 2019. Redraft.
Oh God.
I mean, Josh Jacobs to me has got to be up there.
Yeah, Jacobs probably number 1. Right.
I'm gonna ignore the tight ends.
Yeah.
Not sure about N'Keal Harry. David Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery probably. Henderson has to
two Packers posting Henderson.
They're talking about Henderson playing the Camara role, so I mean that's something.
That's big.
So I mean, I would say
probably those 3, right?
Henderson or Harry is the third one. It's my opinion. Or actually, you know what? I'm throwing Kyler Murray out there.
What about Andy Isabella?
He's gonna be great, but it'll be partially because of Murray.
Okay, that's fine, but for
I think Isabella is gonna be a nice value pick.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna play in the slot. He's gonna get a bunch of targets.
He is actually going later than you'd think. I mean, this is best ball.
13th?
Best ball, 18th round.
18th.
The end of the 18th.
Super bargain.
He has gone as high as the 1103.
Where does Kirk go?
That's a good question as well. I will look that up right now. Kirk, I can't imagine he's going that high. Oh no, yes, 908 is where he's going, right behind Marvin Jones. Talk about those Cardinals receivers.
So you have Kirk going the 908. Fitz goes at the 11th.
Yeah.
Hakeem Butler, let's say he's going in the 17th or 16th. Probably.
Well, we don't have to say that. I can just tell you he's going in the 21st.
21st. Okay, so Isabella's going ahead of him, actually. Take that, some people.
Well, I mean, he was drafted ahead of him. Wouldn't you think he should be going ahead of him?
I would think so, although some people seem to rank them up.
All right, let's move on from that.
So I mean, you have Fitz is going to start for sure, but Fitz plays in the slot sometimes too.
I don't
know what they're going to do exactly. So Kirk's going to play outside, is that right? He's short too.
Yep. Yeah, he's not a big guy.
Effectively, Hakeem Butler is the only guy who can play outside. Everyone else they're going to have 3 slot guys.
Rank the top 4 receivers for Arizona this year in terms of fantasy points at the end of the season. And I'll make this easy for you. It's going to be Fitz, Isabella, Butler, and Kirk. Those are your 4. Rank them.
Fitz for sure first.
Agreed.
And you know what? As much as I like Isabella, I got to give Kirk the nod because he was a second-year player. So I would say Kirk, then Isabella, then Butler.
I think that's how I do it, but I actually might put Isabella ahead of Kirk.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. But I mean, the fact that we're even discussing it, given the rounds disparity by ADP, means you should be taking Isabella.
Should be getting Isabella.
And passing on Kirk.
All right. Speaking of fun, dysfunctional stuff, let's talk about the Jets, Dave. Adam Gase says.
The chat room all thinks Kirk, by the way.
Oh, they like Kirk.
They think we're loony.
Okay.
Well, they didn't say that, but I'm inferring it.
All right. Okay, so Adam Gase says he's excited Le'Veon Bell is on the team, according to Ralph Vacchiano on Twitter. Gase was reportedly not on board with the contracts that both Le'Veon Bell and C.J. Mosley signed under Mike McCagnon, who, again, we don't know if Gase got him fired, but Gase is the interim general manager, and I read that Peyton Manning is a guy that they wanted to interview for the general manager job in New York, which is interesting.
If I was Peyton Manning, I would change my number.
Yeah.
I would not accept a call from if I saw like a New York, New Jersey area code, not picking up.
All right, so
Gase is the worst. You know, we make fun of the Raiders. Gase is the worst.
Okay, this is interesting now, Dave, because he's the head coach of this team. He's the GM of this team. Le'Veon Bell's going at the 10th overall pick of the first round. Do you even want to mess around with any Jets going that high in drafts? And frankly, Bell is the only one. I mean, Anderson's going late. Chris Herndon's going semi-late. And obviously Darnold's going late. Bell's really the only guy you have to make a decision on. Are you willing to be in business with Le'Veon Bell on this franchise after a year off at the 10th overall pick?
You know, there's a lot of risk there. You know, new team, terrible organization. However, you do have Sam Darnold. I mean, I think he's a really great young quarterback. Hopefully the Jets don't ruin him. I can still get on board with taking Le'Veon Bell. I hate to admit it, but at this point, I may change my mind. But right now, I could take Le'Veon Bell. Although I'll say this too. I'm going to say with a caveat. I feel more comfortable taking Odell Beckham, and he's going around that same spot actually a bit later. So I probably won't.
203.
I probably won't end up with a lot of Le'Veon Bell, but I wouldn't feel terrible taking him in general.
Quick, would you rather with Le'Veon Bell? I'm going to name guys that are going after Le'Veon Bell in drafts.
All right.
Bell or Connor?
You know, I think we had this discussion before.
I think we did.
I think I took Connor, and I think I'm going to stick with Connor.
Bell or Mixon?
Mixon. You know why? The reason I like Mixon is that Hubbard and his whole crew love Mixon, so I must be missing something.
Oh, don't say that on the air.
That's all right. If they weren't blasting all over Twitter.
Oh, then who cares?
You know, like Jackson Pollock painting.
Bell or Dalvin Cook?
I'll take Bell.
Bell or Nick Chubb?
I'll take Bell, pass catching.
All right, so the rest of them I know you're going to take Bell on. Okay, so that's very interesting stuff. All right, let's get into fantasy feedback here. Chuck in New York is going to lead things off with this email. Hey guys, I kind of wrote off Kiki QT given it always seemed to be hurt. I think
he's a person.
He always seemed to be hurt is what Chuck in New York meant. Or just thinking about these guys in terms of stats anyway. But I am now rethinking things after I read Deshaun Watson talking him up. See, then he refers to him as a him. Is he a target or a fade for you? That is Chuck in New York. Thank you for the wonderfully disjointed email, Chuck. Right now I can tell you QT in best ball drafts going at the 10-10, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
You're on board?
Yeah, I take QT and don't draft Will Fuller ever.
Okay, that was my next question. Would you consider?
No.
Okay.
I would never draft Will Fuller ever.
Take a guess at what his ADP is.
704?
804.
Shoot, close.
Yeah, so he is going ahead of QT. I wonder if there are people that would pair those two together.
That's not terrible.
Given in a best ball, given that one of them seems to always be hurt.
It's actually true.
But here's the other thing. Both of them are hurt quite a bit too. Here's my hot take of the day.
Take all three. Hopkins, Fuller, QT. That's not bad.
Dave, here's what I think you can do. Everybody's talking about Fuller and QT. Ignore those guys. Take DeAndre Hopkins.
That's good. Too.
I think Hopkins is going to be the best receiver on the Texans this year. That's the guy you want.
I like that.
I feel like I'm doing my best Mike Francesa impersonation here.
You just landed a job at NFL.com.
Yeah. You're hiring. I mean, he's saying Hopkins is going to be awesome.
Here's our
Totally agree.
Here's our top 6 running backs rankings here at NFL.com.
Yeah.
Just run on the list.
Yep.
Draft those in your fantasy league, everybody. We'll see you next week.
John in Corpus Christi, Texas. Dear Brent and Clay, now that the treacherous rookie season is behind him and the Eagles talking about using more 2 tight end sets, is Dallas Goedert going to blow up this year? Thank you for the email, John. Dallas Goedert, Dave, not going very high in FFPC best ball drafts. 1104 behind Jordan Reed and Noah Fant. You on board with Dallas Goedert blowing up in Philly this year?
I don't think he blows up this year. I like his skill set a lot. By the way, can I give props to 2 Packaries in the chat room? Lou Tranquilli, DFC Fantasy Football.
Sure.
He's in the
former guest of this show.
Meyer was kind of, if you have like a really ugly orphan with one leg, really not good looking, Meyer took over this team in the Big F League, and then he subsequently made it worse somehow by drafting guys like Will Fuller. But nevertheless, he's still in the league, he's still hanging around. And Lou Tranquilli has been trying to work Meyer over to get Dallas Goedert for like 20 months or so, it sounds like. Meyer finally sold Goddard, but he got a 2020 first from Lou for Goddard. So kudos to you, Meyer, for holding out and getting that value for Dallas.
Wait a minute.
It is a tight end premium league, by the way.
So he got a future first for Dallas Goedert?
2020 first from Lou Tranquilli for Goddard. So I guarantee you that Lou thinks Goddard's breaking out.
Well, I mean, that's
he also drafted, this dynasty, he drafted John Ross.
Yeah, that's the albatross. John Ross, the albatross.
But that was a good trade.
All right, so Goddard, I'm with you. I don't think he blows up this year.
I think he's been good overall.
What is interesting is if Ertz were to get hurt, then I think Goddard could be huge.
Absolutely. Or the next contract or whatever. And
if you're investing a pick, what is Ertz going in the 2nd round right now in FFPC?
Yeah.
He's going at the 203, so he's almost a first-round pick. Get Dallas Goedert in the 11th round. I mean, you almost have to do that to handcuff. Take him in the 10th.
I totally agree, actually. And there's going to be times where you might be, if it does pan out where they're playing together and playing well and they're getting targets and Jeffrey's hurt again like usual, that you could start both of them. And by the way, Lou does own Ertz, so it does make sense for Lou to pick him up. I
should point out, too, on the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship podcast, every time they mention Alshon Jeffrey, Farrell corrects everybody and says, in honor of Eric Bachman, let's call him Alshon Jeffries.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, I really
why is it Jeffries?
Yeah, it's Alshon Jeffries.
Like every person on the football guy's message board.
And Emmanuel Ander from Denver. Barry in Atlanta, should we be concerned about this Ezekiel Elliott shoving a security guard thing, or won't he be suspended until next year, or not at all? Thanks, HSFF guys. That's Barry in Atlanta. I'm assuming Georgia. You saw the video from this on TMZ?
I did. It was really not. It was a very bad look for Elliott. He looked like a total idiot.
He was dressed like a total idiot too.
Yeah, whatever.
Do you think he gets suspended this year? First, let's ask this: do you think he gets suspended at all because of this?
I would guess no.
That's my guess too. I'm surprised there hasn't been more heat on this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that they're gonna brush this under the rug a little bit, maybe. He pushed. He was a guy, so because it wasn't a woman, I guess it's okay.
Right. Yeah. Right. So terrible.
I mean, it's kind of true, right? If a woman had fallen over, oh my God, suspended for a year. But it's just a guy. Just because it's a 130-pound tech deck guy who's supposedly working security there, gets knocked over and pushed over like this metal railing. I mean, he was being a total bully. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Sure, he was drunk.
Maybe or high.
Who knows?
That's the one thing the NFL should do. As soon as that happens, I'd call in for a mandatory drug test like in a second.
Yeah, the players' union would probably have a problem with that.
Well, they should negotiate that in the next thing. It's like if there's something controversial that comes up, you should be able to call them in instantly for
NFL's been taking advantage of the players' union for years. This should be pretty simple to insert. All right, let me pose a question to you, Dave. Sorry, did you want to say something?
Well, Watts guy put this in the chat. No suspension, but portends future troubles.
Right.
Now, by the way, portends means it could be future trouble.
Oh, thank you.
So this isn't the first time Elliott's had problems, by the way, too. He's got all these other issues going on. This he's a powder keg. He's now getting close to first level knucklehead or idiot.
Okay. Let's say you're in an FFPC draft.
Yeah.
You have the 4 pick. The first 3 picks are Barkley, McCaffrey, and Kamara. What do you do?
I mean,
FFPC draft.
I think I'm taking Elliott.
You would take Elliott there?
Sure, yeah.
At 4. Okay,
I think there's a pretty big chasm between him
over
and
Kelsey.
Kelsey, actually, David Johnson, people have been letting him get down pretty far.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to talk him up a little bit. David Johnson's a really interesting player.
109 for David Johnson right now.
I'd have to think about David Johnson and having to reach at him possibly.
Okay, but you would probably take Elliott, but you would consider Johnson. Kelsey's
not impossible. I would consider. That's another something to consider.
And what about Nuke Hopkins? Does he come into play at all or no?
I probably would not take him.
Okay.
I guess.
All right, fair enough. Let's get to one last email tonight. We're only 10 minutes over. Nice job, Eric. Jim in Reno, do you view Delanie Walker as a good bounce-back tight end that I can count on to be my starter? Or is he just a has-been that's never going to be a big contributor again? Thank you for the email, Jim. Delanie Walker, Dave's currently going in FFPC best ball drafts at the 906. He is going ahead of TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Rudolph, and Jack Doyle. He is going behind Chris Herndon, Trey Burton, Austin Hooper, and Vance McDonald. Your thoughts on Delanie Walker going at the 906? Is that a worthwhile pick there for you?
So say again who he was going before and after?
He is going right after Vance McDonald, Austin Hooper, Trey Burton, Chris Herndon. He is going right before TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Rudolph, and Jack Doyle.
Yeah, I like Walker, I think, quite a bit.
I'm just looking at this right now. Jim in Reno wants to know if he can count on him as a starter. I'm assuming tight end premium league. And he is right now going as the 14th tight end off the board. So I don't know if you can really count on him as your starter, but certainly if you wait on tight end and you grab somebody like Burton or Herndon, go tight end again right away and grab Delanie Walker, somebody like that. I don't think that's the worst strategy in the world. Oftentimes when I wait on a position like quarterback or tight end, I usually double up right away on that just to make sure I have a pretty capable backup in case my original pick does not pan out.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
So Delanie Walker, you're on board with in the 9th round for
that
FFPC.
seems fine.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Well, that's going to do it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I want to, of course, thank Bob Levens for hopping on the blower tonight and talking a little Football Guys Players Championship with us. I want to thank Dave Gerzak, the FFPC,
By the way,
Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you.
I'm sorry to have to interrupt.
Yes.
Is there some sort of apology coming to Two-Packer?
An apology.
Fake news, you said twice?
I have not heard the retraction apology about
Guess wasn't in
fake
the
news.
And he wasn't the point leader. Wasp guy dominated that all season.
Nah, I have no idea. Did I say that last week?
Evidently. So,
Well.
okay, so hang on. So Wasp guy is this right? Wasp guy was the regular season point leader in Revelations. Is that right, y'all?
Maybe.
Yes, and according to the poor formula of the playoffs, Revelations, Wasp guy got boned.
Now that's a great team name right there. Wasp guy got boned. I love that.
Hashtag crazy.
Yeah, hashtag crazy.
Very good.
So
our apologies.
Sincerely apologize
Kern
for
Reed
any
is
fake
the
news that might have
highest
spread.
scoring player in Revelations.
All hail Hudson Kern
and he
Reed.
got boned
And
in the playoffs.
here's to more boning of the Wasp guy. We'll be back next Friday, maybe to bone the Wasp guy. I'm not really sure. 10-9 Central, 9-time Football Guys Players Championship League champion Darryl Wall is actually going to be our guest next Friday at 10-9 Central for our final show of May. So hopefully you come back for that. Check out the Maiden Dynasties and the 2019 Best Ball Leagues at myffpc.com. Hopefully we've given you some ammunition tonight that you can arm yourself with as you go in to try to dominate a May draft. Get in on the Football Guys Early Bird. That expires at the end of next month, coming up in a few weeks. And the main event Early Bird expires a week from today. Hustle in, save that money, and try to win $500 million. Thanks for listening, everybody. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We're on the scene explorer, even more so if we on tour. Me and E explore the country, wondering about the evening before. Trying to explain where the time went, while other rappers find a studio to grind in.
So I know we actually made the wager of Daniel Jones and Eli Manning, and you said Daniel Jones starts, or Eli Manning starts 10 or more games. How many do you honestly think that Eli Manning starts? Do you think he starts all 16?
I kind of do.
Really? Because Daniel Jones sucks or what?
Yeah, and I actually, and then the GM's talking about him playing a couple more seasons or whatever. I feel like Eli's gotten thrown under the bus just a little bit too much. I feel like he's not that great, but he's not the worst. I mean, his completion percentage, I don't have it in front of you, I think was actually pretty reasonable last year.
Okay.
It's not bad.
All right. So, and who's the beneficiary on that? Is it just Barkley? You excited about any of the other Giants pass catchers?
I actually think Tate and Shepard at their ADPs for the best ball, that strategy. I don't think it's a bad one. I don't know. I mean, Engram, I don't know.
So Ingram's a conundrum for you right now.
Well, Beckham, that's a lot of targets on Beckham leaves. That's a ton of targets available.
Indeed.
I think Engram could be all right. I mean, in spite of our guys not liking him, I think it's possible.
Midnight draft filled. There's another one open. Hop in, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fun time tonight with yours truly as the commish. We will be back next Friday at 10/9 Central. Thanks for listening, everybody. Happy Memorial Day.
All right.